Hey everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to go through 4 exercises that are going to help with spinal mobility, and that is one of the most important things that we want to pay attention to as we age because our spines are so important for overall mobility and of course pain management. We want our spines to be able to move freely without pain. These exercises are really going to help. 2 of these exercises are rotation oriented and 2 of them are flexion extension oriented, and these are nothing fancy. You've probably even done these before, but as I always say, did you actually do these exercises today? So let's go through all 4 of them, and then you can either do them on your own or I will go through an actual sequence of these 4 exercises toward the end of this video. Okay, let's get started here down on the floor and we will come onto our backs to get going. The first one is a basic bridging movement. Now you want to make sure that your feet are at least hip width apart. Of course, you can't really see your feet here, so you kind of feel your way into that position, feet hip width apart, and then the arms are right by your sides. Now what we want to do here is not a simple just lifting of the hips. So in this first little movement here, notice how all I'm doing is just lifting the hips up and down. This is really not doing very much for the spine. So what I want to do instead is roll the spine. So I feel my tailbone lifting first, I feel my abdominals curling, and then I rise up until I'm all the way up to the base of the neck. I'm going to squeeze the glutes at the top, and then I'm going to roll back down. So I'm trying to touch each vertebra down individually until finally the tailbone touches, and I've restored the spine back to its normal curvature. So I'm starting again. I'm going to push the low back into the ground. That starts the curvature, and I roll the spine all the way up. Squeeze the glutes at the top, and then starting from the top of the spine, I roll it back down. Okay, so that's the way you do that. The hard part is to make sure you're moving the spine just as much as possible. Okay, let's go to the second one, which is one of our rotational exercises. So reach the arms out directly away from the shoulders, separate your feet, again, at least hip width apart. We're gonna just move the knees from side to side. So again, as I said, these are really, really simple movements, but they're so important. So as you do this, make sure your feet are plenty far apart and allow the knees to simply fall from side to side. Now, obviously we're working the low back here as well as the hips, but we're primarily focused on the low back, and the upper back is staying in place. So I'm feeling the shoulder blades staying down in the ground as I move the lower back through its free range of motion. So again, so simple, but did you do it today? Now you can also do a little bit of neck movement. You can either move the neck in the same direction as the knees, or you could do the opposite. So I take the knees over to the left as I look to the right. So either way works, but you can get a little bit of cervical spine action here as well. All right, and then the next one is going to be our next rotational. It's going to be for the upper back. So in this one, I'm going to roll over onto my side, and a blanket is really nice here for the head if you would like to use it. And then you're going to stack ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, wrist. Everything stacks together. I'm going to keep the low body stationary, and the top arm lifts up and over to the other side. And I'm trying to get the shoulder blade to come down to the ground, but it may not come all the way to the ground. Notice my top knee has lifted a little bit. That's perfectly okay. And then I'm going to release it back. So you would do this several times, of course, and you're just letting your body kind of move. You're not trying to force anything here. Now, eventually you may find, after you've done a half a dozen or so of these, that you may find that your legs are staying a little more in place. I feel like my knees are staying a little closer together now, and I'm getting this amazing upper back rotational movement here. I'm trying to touch the hand all the way to the floor behind me, if I can. Okay, and then of course you would switch sides and do that to the other side. Let me just do that real quickly here so you can kind of see that I am getting my arm to come down. Now, if you only come to here, that's perfectly fine. I don't want you to force it. Just let the arm fall to wherever it will go, and then you come back up and go again. Now, another thing I want to mention is that you may notice differences from side to side, and it's not necessarily going to feel the same because of various imbalances that we all have in our bodies. Okay, so now come up onto hands and knees for the fourth exercise, and we're back to the second flexion extension exercise. This is our tabletop exercise, flexion extension. So I want to make sure that you have a solid base here. You can always do this from the elbows if your wrists aren't happy, but otherwise your hands are on the ground, you've spread the fingers, and you're actually gripping the mat so your hands stay firm into the ground. I'm pushing the tops of the feet into the floor. If this hurts your feet, you can always try it with toes down. Otherwise, you're on the tops of the feet. I'm pushing the tops of the feet down, the knees down, the hands, and then, of course, I'm just going to round and arc the spine. Again, this is so simple. You've done this a gazillion times, but did you do it today? So if you did this movement every single day, in 20 years, your spine is going to have so much more mobility. Now, what I'm doing here is holding my arms and legs as still as possible. That isolates the movement through the spine. I'm also using the abdominals. I'm not letting the belly drop and relax as I look up. I'm keeping the belly lifted and toned. That's going to help keep the back safe. Now, at first, you might not have very much movement, and that is perfectly okay. But you want to work toward finding the end of the range of motion on the arc, and then finding the end of the range of motion on the rounded position. Trying to find as much movement as you can. Okay, so that's it. That's the 4 exercises. Go ahead and do those. Give them a try. But just think about just how great that's going to be for your spine. Those 2 flexion extension exercises, and then the 2 rotational exercises, one for the low back, one for the upper back. So good to do this to maintain that mobility of your spine, and it's only going to take you 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so if you want to join me, let's go ahead and go through it. We start on the back with the bridges. Going to drop the shoulder blades into the floor and begin rolling the spine up, rolling the spine down. Rolling up, squeeze the glutes at the top, and roll it back down. I feel like you're really controlling your spine. Now, you could do a lot of these, but I would recommend at least 10. If you're getting ready to go play golf or tennis or pickleball, what a great little routine to do. You're really going to awaken your spine for those rotational sports. Squeezing the glutes at the top gets that good activation of those glute muscles. And I'm going to do twice more. And then release down, and I'm going to reach the arms out away from the shoulders, separate the feet even a little bit more, and start those lower back rotations. So simple, feels so good. Another nice benefit of this little short routine is rhythm. If you're getting ready to go out and do something like a sport, golf or tennis or pickleball, whatever it is, this is really nice just to quieten the mind and feel your body moving. You can close the eyes if you like. Smooth, even breath. Twice more. All right, we're going to transition right into the upper back rotation. Use the blanket if you need it. Stack your body and begin. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the tutorial is try to have your arm lengthen just as much as you can. You're sweeping it up and across. Big reach. I'm going to do a couple more. Great sequence to do first thing in the morning. Get your spine awakened and active. All right, I'm going to switch sides. Stacking all of my joints and then beginning. My gaze follows the hand. Now, in this particular sequence, I'm keeping everything moving, but there's no reason why you couldn't hold one of these positions. Find something that feels good to you. If you would just like to explore in stillness, you can certainly do that. I'm feeling this nice upper back rotation, but I'm also feeling a nice stretch in the shoulder and the chest muscles as well. All right, last one. And up onto hands and knees, and we will finish up from there. Hands, knees, feet solid into the ground, and begin rounding and arcing. Breathing pattern here. Inhale as you look up and arc the spine. Exhale, push the air out as you round and tuck. And I'm going to get two more all the way through. Last one, best one. All right, and we're all done. Spine feels great, ready to go for the next activity. Hope you enjoyed this short sequence.